Large frame 50 series PTO disassembly and clutch pack rebuild. You'll want to, the PTO shaft comes off, and then you, with a snap ring, there's 4 bolts that hold this on. I already got them off. And then we need to look for in here. There it is. A little pin that holds keeps this part from separating from that part when everything's together. We'll just take a hammer and a punch, drive that pin all the way through into the center, which is hollow, so it'll drop in there and fall out. Okay, drove the friction pin out. Now we're going to want to rotate it so it's sitting back on this side. One thing we don't want to forget, we've got to take this pipe plug out. Okay, had it got loosened up. So take pipe plug out, 1/4 inch bolt. Should thread right into that. Pull out. Just the little spool that helps deliver oil down inside the shaft there. But if you don't take that out, things will bend, hang up. All right, next thing we got to do is take the 6 1/2 inch bolts that go around the perimeter out so we can separate the top half from the bottom half. Lifts off like that. Someone threw an extra washer in there, thinking they were improving the braking, probably actually made it worse. Then there's less room for the clutch discs to separate. Okay, to disassemble a clutch pack, I take these cotter pins here out, take the 3 pins out. Okay, I've got the cotter pins out, so I'm pulling the pins. There'll be 3 of them. Rotate it around. All right, got the spin around. Take the 3rd one out. Take the actuator arms assembly out. You can then pull the clutch pack right out of the drum. Hold the adjuster down. That little booger there. And spin the nut off. fine threaded, but it'll eventually get far enough to where that won't catch anymore. And that's still not there. There we go. You want to make sure there's nothing to hold that in once that nut's up. There's a spring behind that. So that can come flying or falling off if you flip it over. A little plunger, spring down in there. But now you can pull this upper assembly off. And there's your clutch pack. Okay, once you're looking for what you're looking for, once you get it apart, it's excessive wear. There needs to be these little grooves in there. Then some slight discoloration. Looks all right. The other thing you want to know is that it's not warped. Put it on a nice flat surface. Doesn't look too bad. Maybe just a slight dish to it. But if each one of these, it's usually the separator plates that warp the worst, has been my experience. Usually you'll see, you sit on the flat, the center part warps up, depending on which side's up, but it'll be a gap around there because it's dished one way or the other. This one doesn't seem to be in too bad a shape. A little uneven wear right in there. Now this clutch disc is showing some darkness up here. Probably hard to see in the video. There's some roughness on the edge there where it looks like it might be starting to break apart. Maybe just a little. That don't look too bad. Looks a little dark, but this tractor had some moisture in the transmission. That might be where some of it come from. Guess depending on how bad a guy wants to, how much money you want to try to save, whether you want to replace all of them. That one looks pretty good. Yeah, at least at first glance, these are all looking like they're still probably usable. Not seeing anything terribly bad about them. Check them out a little more thoroughly on a flat surface to make sure they're not warped at all, because that's what makes them keep spinning even though when you turn the PTO off. If they're not nice and flat, then they take up more space and they keep dragging against each other and PTO never stops. So you want these as flat as can be. That one looks pretty good. Last friction disc. pretty good on that one. This just needs a good cleaning. It's just dirty. And that's basically where we're at this point. I can pull this shaft out easily enough. This is a single speed unit. That's part of the reason the main reason I've got it apart. I'm going to make it into a dual speed. Got my extra parts there from another unit I bought. I think we're ready to, when you got a single speed, normally there's a seal right here where your shifter goes in. If you got a dual speed, with a single speed, you just get this soft plug. And that keeps your oil out. And then it's the same thing in the center of this shaft. Instead of the interlock mechanism, I guess we can't quite see down in there, but there's just another soft plug in there to keep the oil coming out. A little bit of washing and we'll be able to put her back together. Something I didn't cover in the other video on reassembling was putting these in, the seal for the interlock. Washer goes down in there. Just needs to sit down in. The seal holds it in. You want the lip facing towards the smaller gear or towards what will be the front of the tractor. And if you drop it in carefully, it goes in right, like that. I like to put a little sealant on the seal just to be a little extra sure on the outer surface. But washer wants to go in first, so the seal holds it in. From there, we'll put our interlock plunger in, and then the main plunger, a spring, and a snap ring, which are covered in the other video on reassembly. Got the sealant on there. Use a suitable driver to drive that seal in, or in my case, a socket that's just the right diameter works just fine. Got that drove in. Doesn't take much to do it, just in case you're wondering. There's the seal that goes in there. Reassembling the PTO clutch pack is pretty straightforward and simple. You'll have 7 friction discs, 6 separators. So you start with a friction disc, set it on there, put the separator on. That one's got to line up. Friction disc, separator. This is, of course, after you've either replaced or inspected them to see what needs replaced. Just keep stacking them up. Last one of these. Then set the top on here. That's got to line up with the keyways on there. Put my spring and my adjuster poppet back in. There we go. Spin the nut on. I find if you spin the nut down until it gets about, the top of the nut's about flush with this here, somewhere in there, it gets you pretty darn close. It'll need adjusted once it's in the tractor. I don't know of a way to do it outside the tractor, but that gets you pretty close. You gotta measure the amount of pull on the, we'll go with that, on the lever in order to tell how close it is. But that clutch pack's now back together. Replace the seal in the clutch drum. If it goes bad, you're not going to see it on the outside, but it will let your oil transmission lube pressure drop off because all the oil can squeeze through past there. Not all of it, but enough where you're going to have a pressure drop. You don't really need that because other parts of the transmission need oil. So just a good idea to replace it while you're in there. Okay, I got my seal driven in here. I got the lip facing in. Normally you'd put it against the pressure side, but when that shaft slides in, the seal will engage it easier, and if it has a slight amount of seepage, ain't as critical as this shaft tearing it up when you slide the two halves together. But now we take our clutch pack and set it in here, and you just have to keep going around and lining the discs up. Definitely easier when you're not holding the phone. There's one. Two. Three. 4. Moving around one. That makes 5, 6, and 7. Now we just need to put our actuator arm assembly back on. Put the pins back in that you put in these holes or took out of these holes. Make sure each claw is properly engaged in the nut there. And then also make sure the heads of the pins are on this side as you're facing that way, because that has to do with the engine rotation is going this way. And so you're putting pressure against the head that's part of the pin instead of the cotter pins. I've seen them both ways. They seem to hold up, but Oliver recommended, if they're original, you'll see them with the heads facing that way. Okay, got my cotter pins in. I spared you the struggle of watching me try to fold them over while holding the camera and doing it. Got all 3 of them in. One thing, you can kind of get an initial adjustment on this. If it comes up and hits that easy, it's too loose. So I'm going to once again, I don't have enough hands. I'll probably pause here, but you just hold that pin down and turn the nut down a little more. I'll pause while I do that. Needs some more tightening, but I just thought I'd stop for a moment and show you what kind of happens there. Push it over center, and that's what happens when you're using it. But if I can do it with my hands, that's still not tight enough, but we're getting close. Okay, I think I got it pretty close. As you can see, the nut's just slightly higher than the spider shaft thing end there. I can't push that over center by hand, So I'm going to call that good for now and do final adjustment once it's in the tractor, but that should get it pretty close. And then we don't want to forget about the brake washer that goes in here, which that's mentioned in the other video. I put grease on it so it sticks to this surface when I slide the two together. And I think just about everything else is covered in the other video. So thanks for watching.